Welcome to the Big Success Show. Today, 3 things to unlearn from school.
Big Success with the professor and Mary-Lynn.
I have enough trouble with learning, Mary-Lynn. Now you're telling me I got to unlearn something?
Right, exactly.
Hey, man, it's back to school time, and so we're kind of celebrating that with our last couple of shows. Mm-hmm. And we got another one here today, and it reminds me, Mary-Lynn, remember that old song that goes something like, school days, good old golden rule days, reading and writing and arithmetic, taught to the tune of a hickory stick. Oh, and it reminded me of my grandpa. My grandpa was left-handed in everything except writing. The thing is, they whacked him on his left hand if he used his left hand to, and it's like, wow, it's just amazing how far we've come in how we educate people and what we know about things. Right. We've come a long way, baby.
And letting lefties be free.
Yes. Free the lefties.
Free to be a lefty.
Hey, I'm George Kruger, a.k.a. the Professor.
And I'm Mary-Lynn. We found a great article on Entrepreneur, and it talks about lies they tell you in school that could hurt you in business. And we're going to share those with you, plus get some insight from the professor. So without further ado, let's pull out the professor's whiteboard.
I need some insight on closet organization, Mary-Lynn.
I'd say you do. You need to unlearn whatever you learned putting that thing together.
Precisely.
Okay. So we're going to share 3 things to unlearn from school, inspired by an article written by Samuel Leeds in Entrepreneur. He says the lies they tell you in school are don't copy, learn everything before implementing, and don't make mistakes.
So those are the lies.
Right. So we're going to break down these lies one at a time, share Leeds' insight as well as perspective from the professor. So first one, don't copy. Now, I mean, come on. Leeds does make it clear that this doesn't mean taking other people's copyright protected work.
Yes, that's called getting kicked out of school. Yeah. But what he's essentially saying here, and he's onto something, it's why wouldn't you copy? Why wouldn't you copy the formula of someone who has achieved great success? Makes sense, doesn't it? So I would like to just make one friendly amendment to that. In our fast-changing world, copying, or maybe a better term might be cloning, trying to clone someone's successful formula, it may fall short. You have to find some way to stand out and be different, or you likely won't succeed. And we have to realize that it seems like that first mover, the first person to do something, often gains an advantage. So copying is great, but make sure that you're kind of taking a copy and tweaking it a little bit for your own uniqueness.
Great perspective there. Now we move on to the second lie to unlearn, and that's learn everything before implementing. And
First of all, Mary-Lynn, you're telling me I need to learn to unlearn everything before implementing. Is that what you're saying? That sounds like a double entendre or something like that.
Well, let's see here. Leeds explains this by saying that in school you're expected to learn everything about a subject before you go out into the real world and start making money doing it. But in business, the opposite is true.
I definitely agree with that. Successful strategists know that learning doesn't end with starting. It continues. There's this concept, a military concept, that we've talked about before on our podcast. It's called OODA loops.
Yeah, OODA. And we talk about it extensively in podcast episode number 132. You'll find a link to that in our show notes today. But why don't you explain it a little further?
Yeah, so OODA loops are no Fruit Loops, just to make it clear. But it's an acronym, and it stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, Act. Because when you act, you start learning things that you can't learn from a book, that you can't learn from research, that you can't learn any other way other than acting and getting into the market. Mm-hmm. The loops in OODA loops is there because at any point in time, you may move back to observe, or you may reorient yourself based on new information you gain. And remember, you can only gain this information by being actually in the battle, so to speak, actually doing it.
Actually doing, not sitting back and studying and trying to get everything just right.
You have to ready, aim, fire, not ready, ready, ready. I
mean, you can't just aimlessly shoot. You can't aimlessly fire. I mean, you have to have some sense of what you're going to do. So it's not, don't learn anything and then go.
Yes. Well, and I think some people get stuck on ready. Some people get stuck on aim, right? So if you think about it, ready is part of the observing part, getting ready.
True.
Aim is part of the orienting part. Aim, where am I shooting, right? So where am I gonna try to make inroads into this industry or whatever? So we see that there's a lot of parallels, but a lot of people get stuck. They ready. Other people ready, aim, right? And then there's also the opposite, which is some people ready, fire.
Right,
and you can't do that either.
Yeah,
You have to take your steps through them. But the key thing is move quickly through these steps and understand that you're probably not going to feel like you know everything. You have to make your decisions based on what you know at the time you make them, and then adjust as you get into the game, basically.
Great entrepreneurial perspective there. And so today we're talking about 3 lies to unlearn from school. The third one is don't make mistakes. So in the entrepreneur article, Leeds says in school, you're penalized for making mistakes. But in business, you sometimes learn more from your mistakes than your successes.
Yeah, entrepreneurs know the value of mistakes. And Mary-Lynn, it reminds me of an interview we did with Jonathan Fields, the amazing Jonathan Fields. He was a lawyer making good money until he had a health issue, and that kind of motivated him to walk away to follow his passion. And he was a guest on our podcast, as I said, a while back, when he'd written the book Career Renegade.
And Jonathan has been very, very successful from the get-go, and I asked him to share the secret about his magic touch. And here's what he told us.
I have tried and failed online too many times to count. But that's just part of being an entrepreneur. You're just constantly testing, and you're constantly listening to the audience and revising, and adaptation, the ability to listen and to adapt are critical to survival, whether you're online or offline.
Yeah, I just love that because, and Mary-Lynn, I think what sparked the question is because we've tried so many things that haven't worked out.
Yep.
We wanted to get his perspective of that, but it also reminds me of something my dad said. They can't take the education away from you. And I just love that. It's not about failing. I think this is where sometimes people get confused. We talk so much about failing and it being okay these days, or pivots. And I think a lot of times people are almost in a hurry to fail. Well, you shouldn't be in a hurry to fail, so to speak. You shouldn't be trying to fail, although certainly failure is part of the process. But the thing is, it's about the learning experience. I'm failing, and I'm learning from that failure. And I'm doing that as rapidly as I possibly can. But I'm not trying to get to the failure point as rapidly as I possibly can.
I'm not trying to fail.
I want to succeed. Exactly right. So remember, this isn't about the failing. It's about the learning. Finding a way to learn from your mistakes so you can move forward and have better success. Or better luck.
So let's review what we talked about today. 3 things to unlearn from school. Number 1, don't copy. That doesn't mean take other people's copyrighted protected work. It means look for formulas of success that you can clone.
Yep.
Number 2, learn everything before implementing. It's impossible to sit back and just wait and learn everything. You've got to get in there and act in order to be able to learn more. And then finally, 3, don't make mistakes. Well, mistakes are part of the game.
Yep.
And the mistakes help us learn and grow and be successful.
And I think also always remember, and I think especially for the young people who are listening, not everything that you learn in school or that they teach you in school applies to business and life. But most of your education is actually going to come as a result of your exploration of lifelong learning opportunities. They lead to big success.
Want to learn more about what makes you tick? Take our free life purpose quiz. You'll find it at Big Success. That's big with 2 G's, success.com. And join us next time. We'll explore if a hobby can make you more creative at work.
And we thank you so much for listening today.
Until next time,
here's to your big success.
Find big success at biggsuccess.com.